good afternoon, and konbanwa, wherever you are in the world. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hello, Demon Warrior. Hello, Slowly. Hello, Spidey. Hello, Smiling. Hello, Mateus. Hello, Seg. Hello, Greed. Hello, welcome. Good morning. How's everyone doing? I have my tea here. Oh, I didn't grab a snacky. It's okay. If I get hungry, I will let you all know. And then we can take a pause. But yeah, how's everyone doing? I didn't just wake up. But I think I woke up like 2 hours ago, but I was kind of just lazily laying down in bed. Congratulations on being the only VTuber in the world awake early on a Sunday. I normally wake up like an hour earlier than now. I think I wake up really early is the thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm good, you know. I'm not tired. I'm just like cozy, you know? It's so cozy. Does it feel like a lazy Sunday today? Oh, Eaton man, if only it could be a lazy Sunday today. I have a lot of recording to do. I feel like that's just gonna be me the next like 2 months. Oh, you all get like a little timeline on everything. 2 months. 2 months. 2 months of grind time, prime time. And then I get to reveal to you all the fruits of my labor. Well, when am I not revealing the fruits of my labor? Right. I updated my calendar for like the next few weeks with all of the recordings I need to do. Ooh, let me tell ya. Can we get a backstage peek? Let me see. No, truly not. You cannot. Oh my gosh. I'm like trying to think if there's any crumbs I can give you. But no, I want to keep this one under wraps. I've already told you everything that I can tell you. It's a good one. It's a good secret, I promise you. I promise you. Does this count as Rita reading me a bedtime story because it's nighttime? Yeah! Yeah, I guess so. I was like, oh, it'll be a nice cozy Sunday morning reading session. But now, if it's bedtime for you, then it's a bedtime story. Or if it's an afternoon, maybe like a midday, what do you call that? Refresher? Maybe? Yeah. Until then, had a small update? A small post-credit scene at the end? I'll have to check that out then. Oh my goodness. Intense Lore and Rita, name a better duo, truly. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we're going to be getting a lot of lore today. So if you don't know what it is we're doing today, I recently hosted a Donothon for my birthday, and one of the rewards was that you all... Oh, actually, let me do a poll real quickly while I give the, whatchamacallit. A poll about the BGM while I talk about the story. So, you don't know what we're doing. This is a Donothon reward from the Donothon that I did for my birthday. And you all got to choose which franchise or what story or whatever that I would read while, you know, doing my storytime streams. And you all decided on the Mass Effect novel. So we're going to be reading the first one. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole trilogy. I'm still on the third one. It's so hard to find time to read books. So I'm still in the third one. Halfway, I think. But yeah, I read this first novel a while ago. A long while ago. And it's a prequel, I believe. Yeah, prequel to Mass Effect. So if you don't know anything about Mass Effect, that's okay. Technically, I think you would have a better experience if you know everything that's going on. But because it's like because then you would like know the spoilers, you know what I mean? But if you don't really care too much about spoilers, then I'm sure it'll be fine. I think the way that they write the books, I think you'd still be able to enjoy the book, even if you haven't played the game. Is that a good, like, obviously you're gonna be spoiled by some things, I think. But I think generally you should be able to enjoy it. If you like sci-fi, if you like these sorts of like, you know, these sorts of stories, and I think you'll like it. Yeah, I think it does blend well into the game, for sure. You love this book? Yeah, I really liked it. I really like the series. What's going to be really funny though is that, aside from like the regular like alien terminology that we've heard in the game, I think there's a couple of things here and there that I didn't hear out loud in the game because either they're specific to the prequel, and I was reading it, so I never had to read it out loud. So I don't know how that's gonna go. I see that there is a majority of yes for BGM on, and I'm wondering if I should change the BGM to be more like space oriented. You know what I mean? I don't know if I have any space music. I will look for you if I have any BGM that's very space-like. I think that would be more fitting. Let me check YouTube audio library. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking I would turn the BGM off, but if you all want BGM on, I will look for whatchamacallit? Space music. Okay. Let's see. Genre. No. I'll just search up space. Vocals, instrumentals only. Price free. Okay. Is this one? Let's see. It has to be like chill. You know what I mean? Mood. Chill? I think so. I'm looking. I don't want it to be too scary either. These are kind of cute. I don't remember what it was that I used last time. Oh, this one's so Mass Effect. It's called Deep Space. I'm gonna use this one. It might be a little too like, I don't know. You all can let me know if it's very, very off of the vibe. I think the vibe is okay. It's not perfect, but I think it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna change it in just a second. Don't get jump scared. Don't get jump scared, okay? What the heck? Let me adjust my keyboard. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, ready? Get ready for the vibe change. I guess I should... It's okay. What if I forget to change it back? I'll do this. What? Boom. Copy. Duplicate. This is so funny. This is so silly. Yeah, we're gonna go to deep space with Commander Rita. Yup. Archangel crew, are you ready? Oh my gosh. Add media source. Okay. Space music. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'll loop it. It might be really loud at first, so turn down your volume now. Just in case. Don't hurt yourself. Where did I save it to? That's the real question. Download. Okay. I think I downloaded it. Yep. Open. Careful. Watch your ears. Okay, not bad. Okay, I want to hear it too. How's the vibe? How's the vibe? Okay, advanced audio properties. Oh yeah. So Mass Effect. Okay! Let's do this. I'll like interject a couple of times if I really feel the need. I'll try to keep most of my thoughts to the end of each chapter or whatever. But since this is, you know, a book you should probably go pick up on your own. I'm not doing like an official audiobook or anything, so I will probably be interjecting here and there. But I'll try to keep most of my thoughts, most of my major thoughts at the very end of the chapters. Okay. Mass Effect Revelation. Prologue. Approaching okay, again, you'll have to forgive me with the pronunciation. Approaching, is it Arcturus? I don't remember. Disengaging FTL drive core. Rear Admiral John Grissom of the Alliance, the most famous man on Earth and its 3 fledgling interstellar colonies, glanced up briefly as the voice of the SSV New Delhi's helmsman came over the shipboard intercom. A second later, he felt the unmistakable deceleration surge as the vessel's Mass Effect field generators wound down, and the New Delhi dropped from faster-than-light travel into speeds more acceptable to an Einsteinian universe. The ghostly illumination of the familiar red-shifted universe spilled in through the cabin's tiny viewport, gradually cooling to more normal hues as they decelerated. Grissom hated the viewports. Alliance ships were purely instrument-driven. They required no visual references of any kind. But all vessels were designed with several tiny ports and at least one main viewing window, typically on the bridge, as a concession to antiquated romantic ideals of space travel. The Alliance worked hard to maintain these romantic ideals. They were good for recruitment. To people back on Earth, the unexplored vastness of space was still a wonder. Humanity's expansion across the stars was a glorious adventure of discovery, and the mysteries of the galaxy were just waiting to be revealed. Grissom knew the truth was much more complex. He had seen firsthand just how beautifully cold the galaxy could be. It was both magnificent and terrifying, and he knew there were some things humanity was not yet ready to face. The classified transmission he had received that morning from the base at Shangxi was proof of that. In many ways, humanity was like a child, naive and sheltered. Not that this was surprising. In the whole of humanity's long history, it was only in the last 2 centuries that they had broken the bonds of Earth and ventured into the cold vacuum of space beyond. And true interstellar travel, the ability to journey to destinations beyond their own solar system, had only been made possible in the last decade. Less than a decade, in fact. It was in 2148, a mere 9 years ago, that the mining team on Mars had unearthed the remains of a long-abandoned alien research station deep beneath the planet's surface. It was heralded as the most significant discovery in human history, a singular event that changed everything forever. For the first time, humanity was faced with indisputable, incontrovertible proof that they were not alone in the universe. Every media outlet across the world had jumped on the story. Who were these mysterious aliens? Where were they now? Were they extinct? Would they return? What impact did they have on humanity's past evolution? What impact would they have on humanity's future? In those first few months, philosophers, scientists, and self-appointed experts endlessly debated the significance of the discovery on the news vids and across the infonets, vehemently and sometimes even violently. Every major religion on Earth was rocked to its core. Dozens of new belief systems sprang up overnight, most of them based on the tenets of the interventionary evolutionists who zealously proclaimed the discovery as proof that all human history had been directed and controlled by alien forces. Many existing faiths tried to incorporate the reality of alien species into their existing mythologies. Others scrambled to rewrite their histories, creeds, and beliefs in light of the new discovery. A stubborn few refused to acknowledge the truth, proclaiming the Mars bunker as a secular hoax intended to deceive and mislead believers from the true path. Even now, nearly a decade later, most religions were still trying to reassemble the pieces. The intercom crackled again, interrupting Grissom's thoughts and drawing his focus away from the offending viewport and back to the shipboard speaker in the ceiling. We are cleared for docking at Arcturus. ETA approximately 12 minutes. It had taken them nearly 6 hours to travel from Earth to Arcturus, the largest Alliance base outside humanity's own solar system. Grissom had spent most of that time hunched over a data screen, looking through status reports and reviewing personnel files. The journey had been planned months ago as a public relations event. The Alliance wanted Grissom to address the first class of recruits to graduate from the academy at Arcturus, a symbolic passing of the torch from a legend of the past to the leaders of the future. But a few hours before they were about to depart, the message from Shanxi had radically altered the primary purpose of this trip. The last decade had been a golden age for humanity, like some glorious dream. Now, he was about to bring a grim reality crashing down on them. The New Delhi was almost at its destination. It was time for him to leave the peace and solitude of the private cabin. He transferred the personnel files from the data terminal to a tiny optical storage disk, which he slipped into the breast pocket of his Alliance uniform. Then he logged off, pushing himself away from his chair and stiffly standing up. His quarters were small and cramped, and the data station he'd been working at was far from comfortable. Space on Alliance vessels was limited. Private cabins were typically reserved exclusively for the commanding officer of the ship. On most missions, even VIPs were expected to use the common mess or the communal sleeping pods. But Grissom was a living legend, and for him, exceptions could be made. In this case, the captain had generously offered his own quarters for the relatively short trip to Arcturus. Grissom stretched, trying to work the knots out of his neck and shoulders. The Admiral rolled his head from side to side until he was rewarded with a satisfying crack of the vertebrae. He made a quick check of his uniform in the mirror. Keeping up appearances was one of the burdens of fame, before stepping out of the door to make his way to the bridge in the bow of the starship. Various members of the crew paused in their duties to stand at attention and salute as he marched past their stations. He responded in kind, barely aware that he was doing so. In the 8 years since he had become a hero of the human race, he developed an instinctive ability to acknowledge the gestures of respect and admiration without any conscious awareness. Grissom's mind was still distracted with thoughts of how much everything had changed with the discovery of the alien bunker on Mars. A line of thinking that was not surprising given the unsettling reports from Shanxi. The revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe hadn't just impacted Earth's religions. It had far-reaching effects across the political spectrum as well. But where religion had descended into the chaos of schisms and extremist splinter groups, politically the discovery had actually drawn humanity closer together. It had fundamentally united the inhabitants of Earth, the swift and sudden culmination of the pan-global cultural identity that had been slowly but steadily developing over the last century. Within a year, the Charter for the Human Systems Alliance, the first all-encompassing global coalition, had been written and ratified by Earth's 18 largest nation-states. For the first time in recorded history, the inhabitants of Earth began to see themselves as a single, collective group, human as opposed to alien. The Systems Alliance military, the Systems Alliance military, a force dedicated to the protection and defense of Earth and its citizens against non-Terran threats, was formed soon after, drawing resources, soldiers, and officers from nearly every military organization on the planet. There were some who insisted the sudden unification of Earth's various governments into a single political entity had happened a little too quickly and conveniently. The infonets were swarming with theories claiming the Mars bunker had actually been covered long before it was publicly announced. The report of the mining team unearthing it was just a well-timed cover story. The formation of the Alliance, they asserted, was in fact the final stage of a long and complicated series of secret international treaties and clandestine backroom deals that had taken years or even decades to negotiate. Public opinion generally dismissed such talk as conspiracy theory paranoia. Most people preferred the idealistic notion that the revelation was a catalyst that energized the governments and citizens of the world, driving them boldly forward into a brave new age of cooperation and mutual respect. Grissom was too jaded to fully buy into that fantasy. Privately, he couldn't help but wonder if the politicians had known more than they publicly admitted. Even now, he wondered if the communications drone carrying the distress call from Shanxi had caught them by surprise. Or had they been expecting something like this even before the alliance was formed? As he neared the bridge, he pushed all thoughts of alien research stations and shady conspiracies from his head. He was a practical man. The details behind the discovery of the bunker and the formation of the alliance didn't really matter to him. The alliance was sworn to protect and defend humanity throughout the stars, and everyone, including Grissom, had to play their part. Captain Eisenhorn, commanding officer of the New Delhi, gazed out through the large viewport built into the foredeck of the ship. What he saw there sent a shiver of wonder down his spine. Outside the window, the massive Arcturus space station grew steadily larger as the New Delhi approached. The Alliance fleet, nearly 200 vessels ranging from 20-man destroyers to dreadnoughts with crews of several hundred, stretched out from it in all directions, surrounding the station like an ocean of steel. The entire scene was illuminated by the orange glow emanating from the Type K red giant far in the distance. Arcturus, the system's sun for which the base had been named. The ships reflected the stars' fiery glow, gleaming as if they burned with the flames of truth and triumph. Though Eisenhorn had been witness to this grand spectacle dozens of times, it never ceased to amaze him. A dazzling reminder of how far they had come in just a short time. The discovery on Mars had elevated humanity, binding them together with a new sense of singular purpose as top experts from every field had united their resources in one glorious project. An attempt to unravel the technological mysteries stored inside the alien bunker. Almost immediately, it had become apparent that the Protheans, the name given to the unknown alien species, had been far more technologically advanced than humanity, and that they had vanished long ago. Most estimates place the find at nearly 50,000 years old, predating the evolution of modern man. However, the Protheans had built the station from materials unlike anything found naturally on Earth, and even the passing of 50 millennia had done little to damage the valuable treasures inside. Most remarkable were the data files the Protheans had left behind. Millions of terabytes worth of knowledge, still viable, though compiled in a strange and unfamiliar language. Deciphering the contents of those data files became the holy grail of virtually every scientist on Earth. It took months of round-the-clock study, but eventually the code of the Prothean language was broken, and the pieces began to fall into place. For conspiracy theorists, this was seen as fuel for their fire. It should have taken years, they argued, for anything useful to come out of the bunker. But their negativity went unheard or unheeded by most, left behind in the wake of spectacular scientific advances. It was as if a dam had ruptured, and a cascade, of knowledge and discovery had been unleashed to flood the human psyche. Research that previously took decades to achieve results now seemed to require mere months. Through the adaptation of Prothean technology, humanity was able to develop mass effect fields, enabling faster-than-light travel. No longer were vessels bound by the harsh and unforgiving limits of the space-time continuum. Similar leaps followed in other areas: clean and efficient new energy sources, ecological and environmental advances, terraforming. Within a year, the inhabitants of Earth began a rapid spread throughout the solar system. Ready access to resources from other planets, moons, and asteroids allowed colonies to be established on orbiting space stations. Massive terraforming projects began to transform the lifeless surface of Earth's own moon into a habitable environment. And Eisenhorn, like most people, didn't care to listen to those who had stubbornly claimed humanity's new golden age was a carefully orchestrated sham that had actually begun decades earlier. "Officer on deck!" one of the crewmen barked out. The sound of the entire bridge staff standing to salute the new arrival told Captain Eisenhorn who it was before he even turned around. Admiral John Grissom was a man who commanded respect. Serious and stern, there was a gravity about him, an undeniable significance in his mere presence. "I'm surprised you're here," Eisenhorn said under his breath, turning to gaze once more at the scene outside the window as Grissom crossed the bridge and took up position beside him. They'd known each other for nearly 20 years, having met us as raw recruits during basic training with the U.S. Marine Corps before the Alliance even existed. "Aren't you the one who's always saying the viewports are a tactical weakness on Alliance ships?" Eisenhorn added. "Have to do my part for the morale of the crew," Grissom whispered. "Have to do my part for the morale of the crew," Grissom whispered back. "Figured I could help reinforce the glory of the Alliance if I came up here and stared out at the fleet at wistful and misty-eyed. All wistful and misty-eyed like you." Tact is the art of making a point without making an enemy. I like that saying. Eisenhorn admonished him. Sir Isaac Newton said that. I turned up my audio. I hope you don't mind. "I don't have any enemies," Grissom muttered. "I'm a hero, remember?" Also, I will be taking out the curse words. I apologize. Sorry, not sorry. It's my story. Not my story, but my reading. I'll read it however I want to. Eisenhorn considered Grissom a friend, but that didn't change the fact that he was a difficult man to like. Professionally, the Admiral projected the perfect image for an Alliance officer. Smart, tough, and demanding. On duty, he carried himself with an air of fierce purpose, unshakable confidence, and absolute authority that inspired loyalty and devotion in his troops. On a personal level, however, he could be moody and sullen. Things had only gotten worse when he'd been so visibly thrust into the public eye as an icon representing the entire Alliance. Years of being in the spotlight had seemingly transformed his harsh pragmatism into cynical pessimism. Eisenhorn had expected him to be sour on this trip. The Admiral was never a fan of these kinds of public performances. But Grissom's mood had been particularly dark, even for him, and the captain was beginning to wonder if there was something more going on. "You're not here to speak to the graduating class, are you?" Eisenhorn asked, keeping his voice low. "Need to know basis," Grissom said curtly, just loud enough for the captain to hear. "You don't need to know." After a second, he added, "You don't want to know." The two officers shared a minute of silence, simply staring out the viewport at the approaching station. "Admit it," Eisenhorn said, hoping to dispel the other man's bleak humor. "Seeing Arcturus surrounded by the entire Alliance fleet, it's an impressive sight. The fleet won't look so impressive once it's spread out across a few dozen star systems," Grissom countered. "Our numbers are too small and the galaxy's too darn big." Eisenhorn had to admit that Grissom was probably more aware of that than anyone. The technology of the Protheans had catapulted human society forward hundreds of years and allowed them to conquer the solar system. But it had required an even more amazing discovery to open up the vastness of space beyond their own sun. In 2149, a research team exploring the farthest fringes of human expansion realized that Karen, a small satellite orbiting Pluto, wasn't really a moon at all. It was actually an enormous piece of dormant Prothean technology. A mass relay. Floating for tens of thousands of years in the cold depths of space, it had become encased in a shell of ice and frozen debris several hundred kilometers thick. The experts back on Earth weren't completely unprepared for this particular revelation. The existence and purpose of mass relays had been mentioned in the data archives recovered from the Mars bunker. In simplest terms, the mass relays were a network of linked gates that could transport a ship from one relay to the next, instantaneously traversing thousands of light years. The underlying scientific theory behind the creation of mass relays was still beyond the scope of humanity's top experts. But even though they couldn't construct one themselves, scientists were able to reactivate the dormant relay they had stumbled across. The mass relay was a door that could open up the entire galaxy. or lead right into the heart of a burning star or black hole. Exploratory probes sent through immediately dropped out of contact. Not unexpectedly, considering the notion that they were being instantly transported thousands of light years away. In the end, the only way to truly know what was on the other side was to send somebody through. Someone willing to brave the great unknown and face whatever dangers and challenges waited on the other side. The Alliance handpicked a crew of brave men and women, soldiers willing to risk their own lives, individuals ready to make the ultimate sacrifice in the name of discovery and progress. And to lead this crew, they chose a man of unique character and unquestioned strength, one they knew would not falter in the face of untold adversity. A man named John Grissom. Upon their successful return through the mass relay, the entire crew had been hailed as heroes. But the media had chosen Grissom, the imposing, solemn commander of the mission, to become the flag bearer of the Alliance as humanity forged ahead into a new age of unparalleled discovery and expansion. Whatever's happened... Oh, that's Eisenhorn. Whatever's happened, Eisenhorn said, still hoping he could pull Grissom from his dark state of mind. You have to believe we can deal with it. You and I never could have imagined that we could accomplish all this in such a short time. Grissom gave a snort of derision. Is that what the word? Derision? D-E-R-I-S-I-O-N? We couldn't have done a dang thing. Oh, wait, that's Grissom. We couldn't have done a dang thing if it wasn't for the Protheans. Eisenhorn shook his head. While it had been the discovery and adaptation of Prothean technology that had opened up these great possibilities, it was the actions of people like Grissom that had transformed possibility into reality. If I have seen farther, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants, Eisenhorn. Oh, that's out of dialect. Okay. Eisenhorn countered. Sir Isaac Newton said that too. Why? Oh, that's another guy. Why the obsession with Newton? He a relative or something? Actually, my grandfather was tracing our family's genealogy and I didn't really want to know. Grissom growled, cutting him off. They were almost at their destination. The Arcturus space station dominated the entire window now, blocking out everything else. The docking bay loomed before them, a gaping hole in the gleaming hull of the station's exterior. I should go, Grissom said with a weary sigh. They'll want to see me come marching down the gangway as soon as we touch down. Take it easy on those recruits, Eisenhorn suggested, only half joking. Remember, they're barely more than kids. I didn't come here to meet with a bunch of kids, Grissom replied. I came here looking for soldiers. Wow. The first thing Grissom did when he arrived was request a private room. He was scheduled to address the entire graduating class at 1400. In the 4 hours between then and now, he planned to conduct private interviews with a handful of the recruits. The brass at Arcturus weren't expecting his request, but they did their best to accommodate it. They set him up in a small room, furnished with a desk, computer workstation, and a single chair. Grissom was sitting behind the desk reviewing the personnel files on the monitor one last time. Completion to be accepted into the N7 Specialist Training Program at Arcturus was fierce. Every recruit on the station had been handpicked from the best young men and women the Alliance had to offer. Yet the handful of names on Grissom's list had distinguished themselves from the rest of the elite. Even here, they stood out from the crowd. There was a knock at the door. Two quick, firm raps. Come in, the Admiral called out. The door slid open and Second Lieutenant David Edward Anderson, man of the hour. Oh my gosh, that's my dad. The door slid open and Second Lieutenant David Edward Anderson, the first name on Grissom's list, walked in. Fresh out of training, he'd already been marked for the ranks of junior officers. I saw chat start going off when I mentioned that. Fresh out of training, he had already been marked for the ranks of junior officers, and looking at his file, it was easy to see why. Grissom's list was arranged alphabetically, but based on Anderson's marks at the academy and the evaluations of his training officers, his name would probably have been right at the top regardless. The lieutenant was a tall man, 6'3" according to his file. At 20 years old, he was just starting to fill out his large frame, still growing into his broad chest and wide, square shoulders. His skin was dark brown, his black hair cut high and tight in accordance with Alliance regulations. His features, like most citizens in the multicultural society of the late 22nd century, were a mix of several different racial characteristics. Predominantly African, but Grissom thought he could see lingering traces of Central European and Native American ancestry as well. Anderson marched smartly across the floor and stopped directly in front of the desk, standing at attention as he snapped off a formal salute. "At ease, Lieutenant," Grissom ordered, instinctively returning the salute. The young man did as he was told, relaxing his stance so that he stood with his arms clasped behind his back and his legs spread wide. "Sir?" he asked. "If I may?" Even though he was a junior officer making a request of a rear admiral, he spoke with confidence. There was no hesitation in his voice. Grissom scowled before nodding at him to continue. The file showed Anderson had been born and raised in London, but he had almost no discernible... Oh my gosh, did you hear my tummy rumble? After this chapter, I'm going to get some bread. The file showed... Yeah, he had almost no discernible regional accent. His general dialect was likely the product of cross-cultural exposure through e-schooling and info nets combined with a steady barrage of pan-global entertainment vids and music. "I want to tell you what an honor it is meeting you in person, Admiral," the young man informed him. He wasn't gushing or fawning, for which Grissom was grateful. He simply stated it as a matter of fact. "I remember seeing you on the news after the Karen expedition when I was only 12. That's when I decided I wanted to join the Alliance." "Are you trying to make me feel old, son?" Anderson started to smile, thinking it was a joke. But the smile withered under Grissom's glare. "No, sir," he replied, his voice still sure and strong. "I only meant you're an inspiration to us all." You'd expect the lieutenant to stutter and stammer out some kind of apology, but Anderson wasn't so easily rattled. Grissom made a quick note in his file. "Says here you're married, Lieutenant?" "Yes, sir. She's a civilian. Lives back on Earth." "I was married to a civilian." You know what that reminds me of? That one SpongeBob meme where he was like, I had a... What was it? He lost a pen or something. "I had a pen once." "I was married to a civilian," Grissom told him. "We had a daughter. I haven't seen her in 12 years. Anderson was momentarily thrown off balance by the unexpected personal disclosure. I'm sorry, sir." It was a name, but I lost it. Why did I think it was a pen? Oh, because I was thinking of Mahoy Manoy. Mahoy Manoy! So, back to it. "It's rough keeping a marriage together when you're in the service," Grissom warned him. "You don't think worrying about a wife back on Earth is going to make it harder when you're out on a 6-month tour?" "Might make it easier, sir," Anderson countered. "It's nice to know I've got someone back home waiting for me." Sad. There was no hint of anger in the young man's voice, but it was clear he wasn't going to be intimidated, even when speaking to a rear admiral. Grissom nodded and made another note in the file. "Do you know why I scheduled this meeting, Lieutenant?" he asked. After a moment of serious consideration, Anderson simply shook his head. "No, sir. 12 days ago, an expedition fleet left our outpost at Shanxi. They were headed through the Shanxi Theta mass relay into an uncharted region of space. 2 cargo vessels and 3 frigates. They made contact with an alien species out there. Some kind of patrol fleet, we think. Only one of our frigates made it back." Grissom had just dropped a bombshell in the young man's lap, but Anderson's expression barely changed. His only reaction was a momentary widening of the eyes. "Protheans, sir?" he asked, driving right into the heart of the matter. "We don't think so," Grissom told him. "Technologically, they seem to be on about the same level as us." "How do we know that, sir?" "Because the ships Shanxi sent out to engage them the next day had enough firepower to wipe out their whole patrol." Anderson gasped, then like that, then took a deep breath to collect himself. Grissom didn't blame him. So far, he'd been impressed with how well the lieutenant had handled the whole situation. "Any further retaliation from the aliens, sir?" The kid was smart. His mind worked quickly, analyzing the situation and moving forward to the relevant questions after only a few seconds. "They sent reinforcements," Grissom informed him. "They captured Shanxi. We don't have any other details yet.
Comm satellites are down. We only got word because someone got off a message drone just before Shanxi fell.
Anderson nodded to show he understood, but he didn't say anything right away. Grissom was glad to see the young man had the patience to give himself time to process the information. It was a lot to wrap one's head around.
You're sending us into action, aren't you, sir? Alliance Command makes that decision,
Grissom said.
All I can do is advise them. That's why I'm here. I'm afraid I don't understand, Admiral. Every military engagement has only 3 options, Lieutenant. Engage, retreat, or surrender. We can't just turn our backs on Shanxi. We have to engage,
Anderson exclaimed.
With all due respect, sir,
he added a second later, remembering who he was talking to.
It's not that simple, Grissom explained. This is completely unprecedented. We've never faced an enemy like this before. We know nothing about them. If we escalate this into a war against an alien species, we have no way to predict how it will end. They could have a fleet 1,000 times the size of ours. We could be on the verge of starting a war that will culminate in the total annihilation of the human race.
Grissom paused for emphasis, letting his words sink in.
Do you honestly think we should take that risk, Lieutenant Anderson? You're asking me, sir? Alliance Command wants my advice before they make their decision. But I'm not going to be on the front lines fighting the war, Lieutenant. You were a squad leader during your N7 training. I want to know what you think. Do you believe our troops are ready for this?
Anderson frowned, thinking long and hard before he offered his answer.
Sir, I don't think we have any other choice,
he said, choosing his words carefully.
Retreat isn't an option. Now that the aliens know about us, they aren't just going to sit at Shanxi and do nothing. Eventually, we'll have to either engage or surrender. And you don't think surrender is an option?
I don't think humanity could survive being subjugated under alien rule, Anderson replied. Freedom is worth fighting for.
Even if we lose?
Grissom pressed.
This isn't just about what you're willing to sacrifice, soldier. We provoke them, and this war could make its way to Earth. Think about your wife. Are you willing to risk her life for the sake of freedom?
I don't know, sir, was Anderson's solemn reply. Are you willing to condemn your daughter to the life of a slave?
That's the answer I was looking for,
Grissom said with a sharp nod.
With enough soldiers like you, Anderson, humanity just might be ready for this after all.
And that was the prologue. What did you all think? That's sort of like Anderson's youth, young adulthood. I know, chills. I think that line that he snapped back with, where he was like, "Are you willing to risk your wife's life for the sake of freedom?" And then he was like, "I don't know. Are you willing to have your daughter be like under alien rule or whatever?" That was crazy. Okay, I'm gonna get a piece of bread, and I'll be right back. I sound good. Well, I'm glad. I haven't done like a story time in like so long, because I always wonder, I'm like, is it okay that I'm just reading and that I don't get to like talk to you guys that much? But if you all enjoy them, maybe I'll do them more. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a piece of bread or multiple. Who knows? BRB, you get to enjoy the ambiance of the space. I'm back. Guess what bread I have? Oh, Sing, thank you so much for the super sticker. I have a plain tortilla. I have just a tortilla. Well, I could have put stuff inside, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. But then I also found a chocolate croissant that I forgot about. Well, not forgot about, but I ate half of it yesterday and I didn't finish it because I was too busy working and I forgot about it. Welcome back. Yeah. That reminds me, I want to go grocery shopping. Maybe like in an hour after stream. But I don't know what I want to meal prep this week, so you all let me know. Not a moldy one, no. I'm not like Non. Mold VTuber. I love bread. I'm gonna finish this tortilla, and then we can go to the next chapter. Ooh, bologna and tortilla. I don't think I have any bologna. I think it's really interesting how bologna is spelled like Bologna. You know what I mean? What the hecky? There we go. Yeah, Bologna. Oh, I guess you could also spell it bologna. B-A-L-O-N-E-Y. Bologna. I wonder why it's spelled like that. It is because it is a... Oh! It's an Italian word. Bologna sausage. I say sausage in Italian. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. Okay. I also have my half croissant. Oh, it's hot. Hot. Ooh. I gotta be careful not to burn myself. Oof. Okay. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer to eat that one. What do you all think of the story so far? I think this is a good sort of introduction to Captain or to Space Dad. But yeah, this is really fun. Makes me want to replay or rewatch Mass Effect. Watch the cutscenes, you know? Oh, this croissant smells so good. I'm gonna take a bite even though it's hot. Yummy. This story does well to flesh out Anderson. Yeah, it does. It really does. I wonder how many chapters we'll read today. Do you want to do like 3 chapters? We can do Prologue, Chapter 1, Chapter 2. I think that'd be a good idea. Okay, water check. Oh my gosh, this croissant is so good though. I don't want to stop eating it. Maybe I'll buy more croissants at the store. As long as you want? Okay, I'll keep reading until I want to go grocery shopping. You're gonna grab a tortilla? Yeah, do it, we'll match. Wowee. What? Chapter 1. I'm not even done swallowing my food. 8 years later. 8 years after the prologue. Staff Lieutenant David Anderson, Executive Officer of the SSV Hastings, rolled out of his bunk at the first sound of the alarm. His body moved instinctively. conditioned by years of active service aboard Systems Alliance space vessels. By the time his feet hit the floor, he was already awake and alert, his mind evaluating the situation. The alarm rang again, echoing off the hull to rebound throughout the ship. 2 short blasts, repeating over and over. A general call to stations. At least they weren't under immediate attack. As he pulled his uniform on, Anderson ran through the possible scenarios. The Hastings was a patrol vessel on the Skylian Verge, an isolated region on the farthest fringes of alien space. Their primary purpose was to protect the dozens of human colonies and research outposts scattered across the sector. A general call to stations probably meant they'd spotted an unauthorized vessel in Alliance territory. Either that, or they were responding to a distress call. Anderson hoped it was the former. It wasn't easy getting dressed in the tight confines of the sleeping quarters. Oh my gosh, I almost dropped my book. Oof, I gripped it wrong. What was I? It wasn't easy getting dressed in the tight confines of the sleeping quarters he shared with 2 other crewmen. But he had lots of practice. In less than a minute, he had his uniform on, his boots secured, and was moving quickly through the narrow corridors towards the bridge, where Captain Belliard would be waiting for him. As the executive officer, it fell to Anderson to relay the captain's orders to the enlisted crew, and to make sure those orders were properly carried out. Space was the most precious resource on any military vessel, and Anderson was constantly reminded of this as he encountered other crewmen heading in the opposite direction as they rushed to their assigned posts. Invariably, they would press themselves against the corridor walls in an effort to let Anderson by, snapping off awkward salutes to their superior as he squeezed past them. But despite the cramped conditions, the entire process was carried out with an efficiency and crisp precision that was the hallmark of every crew in the Alliance fleet. Anderson was almost at his destination. He was passing navigation, where he noticed a pair of junior officers making rapid calculations and applying them to a 3-dimensional star chart projected above their consoles. They each gave their XO a curt but respectful nod as he passed, too engrossed in their duties to be encumbered by the formality of a true salute. Anderson responded with a grim tilt of his head. He could see that they were plotting a route through the nearest mass relay. That meant the Hastings was responding to a distress call. And the brutal truth was that more often than not, the response came too late. In the years following the First Contact War, humanity had spread out too far and too fast. They didn't have enough ships to properly patrol a region the size of the Verge. Settlers who lived out here knew the threat of attacks and raids was all too real, and often found the Hastings touch down on a world only to find a small but thriving colony reduced to corpses, burned out buildings, and a handful of shell-shocked survivors. Anderson still hadn't found a good way to cope with being a first-hand witness to that kind of death and destruction. He'd seen action during war, but this was different. That had been primarily ship-to-ship warfare, killing enemy combatants from tens of thousands of kilometers away. It wasn't the same as picking through the charred rubble and blackened bodies of civilians. The First Contact War, despite its name, had been a short and relatively bloodless campaign. It began an Alliance patrol and inadvertently... It began as an Alliance patrol inadvertently trespassed on the territory of the Turian Empire. For humanity, it had been their first encounter with another intelligent species. For the Turians, it was an invasion by an aggressive and previously unknown race. Misunderstanding and overreaction on both sides had led to several intense battles between patrols and scout fleets. But the conflict never erupted into full-scale planetary war. The escalating hostilities and sudden deployment of Turian fleets had drawn the attention of the greater galactic community. Luckily for humanity, it turned out the Turians were only one species among a dozen, each independent but voluntarily united beneath the rule of a governing body known as the Citadel Council. Eager to prevent interstellar war with the newly emerged humans, the Council had intervened, revealing itself to the Alliance and brokering a peaceful resolution. Whoa, totally different word. A peaceful resolution between them and the Turians. Less than 2 months after it had begun, the First Contact War was officially over. 623 human lives had been lost. Most of the casualties were sustained in the first encounter and during the Turian attack on Shanxi. Turian losses were slightly higher, The Alliance fleet sent to liberate the captured outpost had been ruthless, brutal, and very thorough. But on a galactic scale, the losses to both sides were minor. Humanity had been pulled back from the brink of a potentially devastating war and instead became the newest member of a vast, interstellar, pan-species society. Anderson climbed the 3 steps separating the forward deck of the bridge from the main level of the ship. Captain Belliard was hunched over a small view screen, studying a stream of incoming transmissions. He stood up straight as Anderson approached and returned his executive officer salute with one of his own. "We've got trouble, Lieutenant. We picked up a distress call when we linked up to the comm relays," the captain explained by way of greeting. "I was afraid of that, sir." This next line reminds me of Breath of the Wild. Or, yeah, it came from Sidon. Is it Sidon or Sidon? Sidon? Anderson recognized the name. Yeah, me too, Anderson. "Don't we have a research base there?" Belliard nodded. "A small one. 15 security personnel, 12 researchers, 6 support staff." Anderson frowned. This was no ordinary attack. Raiders preferred to hit defenseless settlements and bug out before Alliance reinforcements arrived on the scene. A well-defended base like Sidon. Sidon? You say the second one? I say Sidon. I don't know, I feel like I say it both ways. A well-defended base like Sidon wasn't their typical target. It felt more like an act of war. The Turians were allies of the Human Systems Alliance now, at least officially. And the Skillian Verge was too far removed from Turian territory for them to get involved in any conflicts out there. But there were other species vying with humanity for control of the region. The Alliance was in direct competition with the Batarian government to establish a presence in the Verge, but so far, the 2 rival species had managed to avoid any real conflict in their confrontations. Anderson doubted they'd start with something like this. Still, there were plenty of other groups out there with the means and motive to hit an Alliance stronghold. Some of them were even made up of humans, non-affiliated terrorist organizations, and multi-species guerrilla factions eager to strike a blow against the powers that be. Illegal paramilitary troops looking to stock up on high-grade weapons, independent mercenary bands hoping for one big score. "Might be helpful to know what Sidon was working on, Captain," Anderson suggested. "They're a top security clearance facility," the captain replied with a shake of his head. "I can't even get schematics for the base, never mind get anyone to tell me what they were working on." Anderson frowned. Without schematics, his team would be going in blind, giving up any... this scene is so... Like, the scene of them going into the base. Crazy. Without schematics, his team would be going in blind, giving up any tactical advantage they might have had from knowing the layout of the battleground. This mission just keeps getting better and better. "What's our ETA, sir?" 46 minutes. Finally, some good news. The Hastings followed random patrol routes. It was pure chance they happened to be this close to the source of the distress call. With luck, they could still get there in time. "I'll have the ground team ready, Captain." "You always do, Lieutenant." Anderson turned to go, acknowledging his commanding officer's compliment with a simple, "Aye, aye, sir." Okay, pause because there is a break in the paragraphs. I'm gonna eat more of my croissant. Yummy. It's a chocolate croissant. I love chocolate. But yeah, there's a scene coming up where they, of course, go into the base. And they kind of have this, like, confrontation. It's really, I don't know, exciting, I guess. Yeah, nom break. I love chocolate. So delicious. Maybe I should get chocolate croissants when I go grocery shopping. I don't know though. Any ideas for whatchamacallit? Meal prep this week? I asked earlier, but if you have any suggestions, you can put them in chat while I'm reading. Do you have a favorite chocolate combo? Chocolate croissant. I don't know. I just like chocolates in general. Chocolate and like raspberry flavor. Oh my gosh. Like those Ghirardelli squares. Oh my gosh. Okay. Back at it again. Chicken fajita with rice. Well, that looks good. Oh, wow. With avocado. Oh, delicious. Okay. I will keep that in mind. I will let you know what I think. Back at it again. Back into chapter 1. In the black void of space, the Hastings was all but invisible to the naked eye. Surrounded by a self-generated mass effect field and traveling nearly 50 times faster than the speed of light, it was little more than a flickering blur, a slight wavering in the fabric of the space-time continuum. The vessel altered its flight path as the helmsman made a quick course correction, a minor adjustment to the trajectory that sent the ship hurtling toward the nearest mass relay, nearly 5 billion kilometers away. At a speed of nearly 15 million kilometers per second, it did not take long before their destination was in range. 10,000 kilometers out from their target, the helmsman took the Element Zero drive core offline, disengaging the Mass Effect fields. Blue shifted energy waves radiated off the ship as it dropped out of FTL, igniting the darkness of space like a flare. The illumination of the blazing ship reflected off the mass relay growing steadily larger on the horizon. Although completely alien in design, the construction closely resembled an enormous gyroscope. At its center was a sphere made up of 2 concentric rings spinning around a single axis. Each ring was nearly 5 kilometers across, and 2 15-kilometer arms protruded out from one end of the constantly rotating middle. The entire structure sparkled and flashed with white bursts of crackling energy. On a single signal from the Alliance vessel, the mass relay began to move. It turned ponderously on its axis, orienting itself with a linked relay hundreds of light years away. The Hastings picked up speed as it headed straight for the center of the enormous alien construct on a pre-calculated approach vector. The rings at the relay's heart began to spin faster, accelerating until they were nothing but a whirling blur. The sporadic bursts of energy emanating from its core became a solid, pulsing glow, growing in strength and intensity until it was almost impossible to look at. The Hastings was less than 500 kilometers away when the relay fired. A discharge of dark energy swept out from the spinning rings like a wave, engulfing the ship. It shimmered momentarily, then disappeared as if snuffed out of existence. Instantaneously, it winked back into reality 1,000 light years from its previous location, emerging from apparent nothingness with a bright blue flash in the vicinity of a completely different mass relay. The drive core of the Hastings roared to life, and it jumped to FTL, vanishing into the darkness with a red-shifted burst of heat and radiation. Rapidly left behind, the receiving relay began to power down, the rings at its center already decelerating. I like how they show you, like they sort of describe the sort of like mass relay, how it works. You're gonna do beef stew and peri-peri chicken? That sounds so good. For meal prep. I might have to add that as an idea for later. We've cleared the mass relay. Engaging drive core. ETA decided on 26 minutes. Huddled in the cargo hold with the other 4 members of the ground team, it was almost impossible to hear the sound of the voice coming over the shipboard intercom above the roaring of the engines. Not that Anderson needed to hear the updates to know what was happening. His stomach was still churning for the jump through the mass relay. Scientifically, he knew that the motion sickness shouldn't happen. Travel between relays, the jump from an originating or transmitting relay to the destination. What? Travel between relays, the jump from an originating or transmitting relay to the destination or receiving relay, was an instantaneous event. It took no time to occur, therefore it couldn't possibly have any physical effect on the body. But while he acknowledged this theoretical fact, Anderson knew from first-hand experience that it wasn't true in practice. Oopsie-doopsie. Maybe this time the tightness in his gut was just a bad feeling about what they'd find when they reached the Sidon facility. Whoever had attacked the research base had been willing to take on 15 Alliance Marines. Even using the element of surprise to their advantage, they must have been a formidable force. The Alliance should be sending a troop transport in as reinforcements, not a patrol frigate that could only assemble a 5-person ground team. But nobody else was close enough to answer the distress call in time, and most Alliance vessels were too big to go to planetside anyway. The Hastings was small enough to enter a world's atmosphere and touch down on its surface and still be able to take off again. Anything bigger than a frigate would have to ferry troops down using shuttles or dropships, and they did not have the time for that. At least they were going in heavy. Every member of the ground team was wearing body armor equipped with fully charged kinetic shield generators, as well as 3/4 visored headgear. They each carried half a dozen grenades and the Alliance's standard-issue Hane Kedar G912 assault rifle. I probably said that completely wrong. The ammo clip on each weapon held over 4,000 rounds, miniature pellets smaller than grains of sand. When fired at sufficient velocity, the nearly microscopic projectiles were capable of inflicting massive damage. That was the real problem. No matter how advanced defensive technology got, it was always a step behind. The Alliance spared no expense when it came to protecting its soldiers. Their body armor was top of the line, and their kinetic shields were the latest military prototype. But it still wasn't enough to withstand a direct hit from close range with heavy weapons. If they were going to survive this mission, it wasn't going to be because of their equipment. It always came down to two things: training and leadership. Their lives were in Anderson's hands now, and he could sense their unease. Alliance Marines were well trained to deal with the mental and physical stress of the human body's natural fight or flight instincts. But this was more than the normal adrenaline rush of impending combat. He'd been careful not to expose his own doubts. He'd projected an image of absolute confidence and composure. But the members of his team were smart enough to figure things out on their own. They could put the pieces together. Where was I? I just lost my train of thought. I accidentally flipped the page a little bit. Let's see. The members of his team were smart enough to figure things out on their own. They could put the pieces together just as he had. Like the lieutenant, they knew ordinary raiders wouldn't attack a heavily defended Alliance base. Anderson didn't believe in giving motivational speeches. They were all professionals here. But even for Alliance soldiers, those last nervous minutes before a mission were harder to endure in total silence. Besides, there was no sense hiding from the truth. "Everyone stay sharp," he said, knowing the rest of the team could hear him clearly over the rumbling of the engines through their radios inside their helmets. I got the feeling this wasn't just some slavers pulling a quick grab and run. "Battalion, sir?" The question came from Gunnery Chief Jill Daw. A year older than Anderson, she'd already been an Alliance Marine on active duty back when he was still taking N7 training at Arcturus. They'd served in the same unit during the First Contact War. She stood just over 6'3", making her taller than most of the men she served with. She was stronger than a lot of them too, judging by her wide shoulders, the well-defined muscles of her arms, and her generally large but not ill-proportioned frame. Some of the other soldiers in the unit had called her Amy, short for Amazon, but never to her face. And when the fighting started, they were all glad to have her on their side. Anderson liked Daw, but she had a habit of rubbing people the wrong way. She didn't believe in diplomacy. If she had an opinion, she let everybody know it, which probably explained why she was still a non-commissioned officer. Still, the lieutenant realized that if she asked a question, it meant most of the others were probably wondering the exact same thing. "Let's not jump to any conclusions, Chief." Any idea what they were working on over at Sidon? This time, it was Corporal Ahmed O'Reilly, technicians expert, asking the question. "Classified. That's all I know. So be ready for anything." The other two members of the team, Private Second Class Indigo Lee and PFC Dan Shea, didn't bother to comment, and the team lapsed once more into an uneasy silence.
Nobody felt good about this mission, but Anderson knew they'd follow his lead. He brought them through the fire enough times to earn their trust. Approaching Sidon, the intercom crackled. No response on any frequencies. That was grim news. If any Alliance personnel were still alive inside the base, they should have answered the Hastings call. Anderson slammed his visor down to shield his face, and the rest of the crew followed suit. A minute later, they felt the turbulence as the ship entered the tiny planet's atmosphere. At a nod from Anderson, his team made a final weapons comm and shields check. Water check too, don't forget. We have a visual of the base, the intercom crackled. No ships on the ground, and we're not picking up any non-Alliance vessels in the vicinity. Dang cowards already cut and ran, Anderson heard Daw mutter over the radio in his helmet. With the Hastings' quick response time, Anderson had been hoping they'd arrive to catch the enemy in the act, but he wasn't really surprised when there were no other ships in the area. A raid against a target as well defended as Sidon would have required at least 3 vessels working together. The 2 larger ships would land on the surface and unload assault teams, while a small scout vessel would stay in orbit, monitoring the nearby mass relay for any signs of activity. The scout must have seen it spring to life as the Hastings approached the connecting relay on the far side of the region and radioed the ships on the ground. The advance warning would have given them just enough time to lift off, clear the planet's atmosphere, and engage their FTL drives before the Hastings arrived. The ships involved in the attack on the base were long gone, but in their hurried escape, they might have been forced to leave behind some of their troops. A few seconds later, there was a heavy thump as the ship touched down at the landing port of the Sidon Research Facility. The interminable waiting was over. The pressure door of the Hastings cargo hold hissed open, and the gangway ramp descended. "Ground team," came Captain Belliard's voice over the intercom. "You are cleared for go."
And that is Chapter 1, after the prologue. Crazy, crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. Act like an angel, dress like crazy. What did you all think? Are you all excited to see how this is gonna go down? Let's see. After this is the... they enter. I think this will probably be our last chapter for the day. Ooh, it's a little longer than the one that we just read. Very yay! Woohoo! Nice. I know it's getting really good. I wonder, because I feel like I kind of would love to read this while laying down. I don't know why, but I guess I've conditioned myself. I read books before I go to bed, usually is when I mostly have the time to do it, so I'm getting like really sleepy. And I'm sure you all might feel that way too. But reading books makes me eepy. But not like in a bad way. Okay, wake up! Wake up! Wake up out of your sleep. Water check. But yeah, if you want to hear more, I wonder if I might consider doing this like on Annie Live so I can lay down while I read. What if I fell asleep in the middle of reading? That'd be so funny. But yeah, you all let me know. Takes a nap. Okay, let's go. One more chapter before I fall asleep. Okay. Wow, let's take like a couple of seconds to nap. I don't know why. Books make me eepy. Okay. Oh my gosh. Wake up. Why am I so tired all of a sudden? It was the book. I'm telling you, book really makes me... Book make me tired. Gunnery Chief Daw and Lee, the 2 Marines on point, scuttled down the gangway. Weapons drawn, they scanned the area for a possible ambush while Anderson, O'Reilly, and Shay covered them from the hold above. I'm gonna adjust my microphone so I can lean back a little bit more. I already read that. Landing zone secured, Daw reported across the radio frequency. Once the entire team was on the ground, Anderson took stock of the situation. The landing port was small, room for 3 frigates or maybe a pair of cargo ships. It was located a few hundred meters from a pair of heavy blast doors that led into the structure of the base itself, a rectangular single-story building that barely looked large enough to house the 33 people assigned to the project, let alone any kind of labs for research.
The exterior looked eerily normal. There was no hint that anything was out of the ordinary other than a half-dozen large crates near one of the other landing pads. That's how the attack began, Anderson thought to himself. Equipment and supplies coming in would have been ferried by hand from arriving ships on cargo sleds up to the doors. Sidon must have been expecting a shipment. When the raiders touched down, they would have begun unloading their crates. Someone inside would have opened the blast doors, and 2 or 3 of Sidon's security detail would have come out to help with the cargo, and had been gunned down by enemy troops hiding inside the holds of the ship. Ships.
Strange there are no bodies out here,
Don noted, echoing Anderson's own thoughts. Must have dragged them away after they secured the landing port, Anderson said, not certain why anyone would want to do that. Let's see. Using hand signals, he motioned his team across the deserted landing port and up to the entrance of the base. The sliding blast doors were featureless and smooth. They were controlled by a simple security panel on the wall. But the fact that the doors were closed didn't sit well with the lieutenant. Anderson was at the head of the team. They all stopped short when he crouched down and held up a raised fist. He held up 2 fingers, signaling for O'Reilly. Hunched over, the corporal moved to the head of the line and fell in beside his leader, resting on one knee.
Any reason those doors should be closed?
The lieutenant asked him in a sharp whisper.
Seems a little weird, he admitted. If someone wanted to wipe out the base, why bother sealing the doors when you leave? Check it out,
Anderson told his tech expert.
Take it slow and careful.
O'Reilly hit a button on his assault rifle, causing the handle, stock, and barrel to fold in on themselves until the gun was a compact rectangle half its normal length. He slapped the collapsed weapon into the locking holster on his hip. From a pocket on his other leg, he pulled out an Omni tool and crept forward, using it to scan the area for faint signals that would indicate the presence of any unusual electronics.
Nice catch, LT,
he muttered after checking the results.
Proximity mine wired to the door.
Oh. The corporal made a few adjustments to the Omni tool, emitting a short energy pulse to jam the sensors on the mine so he could creep forward close enough to disarm it. The entire process took less than a minute. Anderson held his breath the whole time, only releasing it when O'Reilly turned and gave him the thumbs up to indicate that the trap had been rendered harmless. A nod from Anderson sent the rest of the team rushing forward to breach the door, taking up their pre-assigned positions. Anderson and Shea moved to either side of their entrance, backs pressed against the exterior wall of the building. Chief Daw crouched low in line with the door a few meters away. Behind her and slightly off to the side, Lee had his assault rifle raised and pointed at the entrance, providing Daw's cover. O'Reilly, crouched down beside Anderson, reached up and punched in the access code on the panel. As the door slid open, Daw tossed a flashbang grenade from her belt onto the foyer beyond, then dove to the side and rolled for cover. Lee did the same as the grenade detonated with a blinding flash of light and a fog of thin, wispy smoke. An instant after the blast, Anderson and Shea spun in through the door, rifles raised and ready to gun down any enemies inside. It was a classic flash-and-clear maneuver, executed with flawless precision. But the room beyond the door was empty, save for a few splatters of blood on the floor and walls.
All clear,
Anderson said, and the rest of the team came in to join him. The entry was a plain room with a single hallway leading off the back wall deeper into the base. There was a small table flipped in the corner and several overturned chairs. A monitor on the wall showed an image of the landing port outside.
Guard post,
Daw said, the evidence confirming for her what Anderson had suspected earlier. Probably 4 of them stationed here to keep an eye on the spaceport. Must have opened the blast doors when the ships landed and went out to help them unload their cargo.
I've got blood smears heading down this hallway, Lieutenant,
Private Indigo called out.
Looks like the bodies were dragged out of this room and back into the facility.
Anderson still couldn't figure out why anyone would drag the bodies away like this, but at least it gave them a clear trail. The ground team slowly made their way deeper into the base, following the smears of blood. The trail took them through to the cafeteria, where they saw more overturned tables and chairs, as well as holes in the walls and ceiling, clear indication that the room had recently been witness to a brief but intense firefight. Further in, they passed 2 separate dormitory wings. The door to each individual room had been kicked open, and the interiors, like the cafeteria, were riddled with bullet holes. Ooh, scary! A picture formed in Anderson's mind. The attackers, once inside, systematically going from room to room, massacring everyone in a hail of gunfire, and then dragging the bodies away with them. By the time they reached the back of the building, they had yet to see any sign that enemy troops were still here. They did, however, make a separate discovery that none of them had been expecting. At the very rear of the facility was a single large elevator going straight down into the earth below.
No wonder this base looks so small, O'Reilly exclaimed. All this good stuff is buried underground. I wish we knew what they were working on,
he muttered a moment later in a more somber tone.
God knows what we're about to walk into.
Anderson agreed, but he was concerned with a more immediate detail. According to the panel on the side of the wall, the elevator was down at the bottom level. If someone had gone into the lower floors of the base only to flee when they got word the Hastings was coming, the elevator should have been on the top floor.
Something wrong, LT?
Daw asked.
Someone took the elevator down,
he said, tilting his head in the direction of the panel.
But they never took it back up.
Oh, scary! That's so scary.
You think they're still down there?
The gunnery chief asked, her tone making it clear she hoped they were.
The lieutenant nodded,
the hint of a grim smile on his lips.
So what happened to their ships?
Private Shay asked, still not piecing it all together. Me.
Whoever attacked this base came for something,
Anderson explained.
Whatever they were looking for wasn't up here. They must have sent a team down to the lower levels to finish up the job. Probably only left a few men up here to keep an eye on things. But they weren't counting on an Alliance patrol ship being close enough to respond to the distress call so quickly. When their scout ship sent word someone was coming through the mass relay, they knew they had about 20 minutes to pick up and clear out. I bet they never even bothered to tell their buddies down below.
What? Why not? Why wouldn't they tell them?
Those elevators might go down 2 full kilometers, Corporal O'Reilly chimed in, helping to spell it out for the inexperienced private.
Looks like the comm panel to the lower level was destroyed in the gunfire.
No chance of getting a radio message to anyone down below through that much rock and ore. And it could take 10 minutes for the elevator to make the trip one way. If they wanted to alert their friends in the basement, it'd take half an hour. 10 minutes to call the elevator up from the lower floor, 10 minutes to send someone from the top down to warn them, then 10 more minutes back up again, he continued. By then, it'd be too late. Easier just to bug out and leave the others behind.
Shay's eyes were wide with disbelief. Why is Shay literally me? They just abandoned their friends?
That's what separates mercenaries from soldiers.
Anderson told him before turning his face back to the mission.
This changes things. We've got an enemy unit down there, and they have no idea an Alliance squad is up above waiting for them.
We can set up an ambush, Daw said.
As soon as those doors open, we start firing and rip those
not great people. Terribids. She was speaking quickly, a wicked gleam in her eye.
They won't stand a chance.
Anderson thought for a second, then shook his head.
It's obvious this is a seek and destroy mission. They aren't planning on leaving any survivors. There could still be Alliance personnel alive on the lower levels. If there's any chance we can still save them, we have to try. Could be dangerous, sir, O'Reilly warned. We're assuming they don't know we're here. If they somehow do, then we'll be the ones walking into an ambush. That's a risk we'll have to take, Anderson said, slamming his fist against the wall panel to call the elevator back up to the surface. We're going in after them.
The rest of the group, including O'Reilly, responded with a sharp, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." The long, slow elevator descent was even more agonizing than the wait in the ship's hull at the start of the mission. Minute by minute, the tension grew as they sank deeper and deeper beneath the planet's surface. The lieutenant could hear the faint hum of the elevator winch, a dull drone boring into the back of his skull that grew steadily fainter, but never entirely disappeared as they dropped even farther down the shaft. The air became heavy, warm, and moist. He felt his ears pop, and he noticed a strange smell in the air. An unfamiliar stench he imagined was a mixture of sulfurous gases mingling with alien molds and subterranean fungi. Anderson was sweating profusely beneath his body armor, and he kept having to reach up with a free hand to wipe away the fog condensing on his visor. He did his best not to think about what would happen if the doors opened and the enemy was ready and waiting for them on the other side. When they finally reached the bottom of the shaft, the enemy was waiting for them, but they sure as heck were ready. The elevator opened into a large antechamber, a natural cave filled with stalagmites, stalactites, and thick limestone columns. The artificial lights strung across the ceiling illuminated the entire chamber, reflecting off thick veins of glistening metallic ore in the cavern's countless natural rock formations. At the far end was a passage that served as the cave's only other exit, a long tunnel that wound around a corner and out of sight. Oh my gosh, I think it's the music too that's making me eepy. Eepy. Let's see. Where was I? The enemy forces, close to a dozen armed and armored mercenaries, were coming towards them from the far side of the chamber. They were laughing and joking, weapons at their sides as they headed for the elevator that would bring them back to the planet's surface. It only took Anderson a fraction of a second to decide they looked like murdering raiders and not Alliance personnel, and he gave the order to fire. His team had been poised and ready as the elevator doors opened, and they reacted almost instantaneously to his command, charging forward from the elevator with a barrage of gunfire. The first wave of their attacks ripped into the pack of unsuspecting mercs. The fight would have ended right then if it wasn't for their body armor and kinetic shields. 3 of the enemy combatants dropped to the floor, but enough of the deadly projectiles were reflected or absorbed so the rest of them were able to fall back and dive for cover behind the boulders and stalagmites that littered the cavern's floor. The next few seconds of the battle were utter chaos. Anderson's team pushed forward, scrambling to use the cave's rock formations for cover. They had to fan out quickly before enemy crossfire could pin the entire group down in a single location. The cavern echoed with a staccato recoil of assault rifles and the sharp zip, zip, zip of bullets ricocheting off the rock formations and walls. And the incandescent tracer bullets that made up every 5th round ignited the room with a ghostly luminescence. Sprinting to a nearby large stalagmite, Anderson felt an all-too-familiar shudder as his kinetic shield repulsed several shots that would have otherwise found their mark. He hit the ground and rolled as a line of bullets struck the floor just in front of him, disintegrating the stone and sending tiny showers of water and dust up under his visor and into his face. He came to his feet, spitting out the foul grit, instinctively checking the remaining power on his shields. He was down to 20%, not nearly enough to give him a fighting chance if he had to make another run through direct enemy fire. "Shield status!" Anderson shouted into his radio. The numbers came back at him rapid fire. 20, 25, 20, 10. His team was still at full strength, but their shields had taken a beating. They had lost their initial advantage of surprise, and they were now facing an enemy squad nearly double their number. But Alliance soldiers were trained to work as a team, to cover each other and watch one another's back. They trusted their teammates, and they trusted their leader. He figured that would give them the edge they needed over any band of mercs. "Duh! Lee! Move up on the right!" he barked. "Try to flank them." The lieutenant rolled to his right, emerging from behind the stalagmite, shielding him from view and firing a quick, covering burst in the direction of the enemy. He wasn't trying to hit anything. Even with the smart targeting technology built into all personnel firearms, it was almost impossible to hit a human-sized target without taking at least half a second to steady and aim. But inflicting damage was not his goal. All he wanted to do was disrupt the enemy so they wouldn't have time to line up Lee or Da while they were alternately advanced, darting in and out of cover. After a 2-second burst, he rolled back behind his own cover. It wasn't good to stay out in view in one place for too long. Even as he did so, Shay popped out from behind a large boulder to lay down another covering burst for his squad mates on the move, and as he ducked back to safety, O'Reilly filled in. As soon as the corporal pulled back, Anderson poked his head out and fired again. This time, he emerged from the left side of the stalagmite, jumping out from behind cover in the same position twice in a row. Jumping out from behind cover in the same position twice in a row was a sure way to catch an enemy round in the teeth. Yikes. He ducked back in and heard Da over his radio saying, "In position! Laying down cover fire!" Now it was his turn to move. "I'm on the go!" he shouted just before he scrambled out into the open, crouched low and running hard for another nearby piece of the cave's natural architecture that was large enough to protect him from enemy bullets. Skidding to a stop behind a thick column, he had just enough time to catch his breath and lay down covering fire as he ordered Shay and O'Reilly to make their runs. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting eepy. I can't even read properly anymore. Eepy. I think I'll take a nap after this. Books, I'm telling you. They're so relaxing. Even when they're not relaxed, like the story isn't relaxing. Again and again, they repeated the process. Anderson sending one person on the move while the others laid down covering fire to keep the enemy on the defensive. He varied who would go each time. The key was to keep the team moving and keep their opponents off balance. Staying in one place would let their enemies focus on them and bring multiple shooters to bear, or even worse, start lobbing grenades in their direction. But there had to be purpose and direction to their movement. They had to follow a plan. For all the mayhem and random confusion of battle, the lieutenant had been trained to approach firefights like a game of chess. It was all about tactics and strategy, protecting and defending your pieces as you maneuvered them one by one to develop a stronger overall position. Working as a single unit, the Alliance squad was pushing its advantage one soldier at a time, slowly maneuvering themselves to where they could flank the enemy, drive them from their cover, and catch them in the crossfire. The mercs could feel it happening too. They were pinned down by the coordinated efforts of Anderson and his crew, trapped, virtually helpless. It was only a matter of time before they launched a suicidal counter-assault or broke ranks in a desperate retreat. In this case, they chose the latter. It seemed to happen all at once. The mercs burst from their cover, backpedaling toward the passage behind them as they fired wild bursts into the vague direction of the Alliance soldiers. Exactly what Anderson and his team had been waiting for. As the mercs fell back, Anderson stood up from behind the boulder he was using for cover. He was exposing his head and shoulders, but someone running backwards while shooting an assault rifle would be lucky to hit the broadside of a battleship, let alone a target half the size of a human torso. He braced his weapon on the top of the boulders to steady it, took careful aim at one of the mercs, let his weapon auto-targeting systems get a hard lock, then slowly squeezed the trigger. The merc did a short, stuttering dance as a steady stream of bullets depleted his shields, shredded his armor, and ripped through his flesh. The whole sequence took maybe 4 seconds from start to finish, an eternity if they had been worried about someone on the other side calmly lining them up in their sights. But with the threat now gone, Anderson had more than enough time to guarantee his aim was lethally accurate. He even had a chance to line up a second merc and take her down too. And he wasn't the only one taking advantage of the situation. All told, his team dropped 7 of the... And he wasn't the only one taking advantage of the situation. All told, his team dropped 7 of the mercs during their desperate retreat. Interesting. Only 2 managed... I've never heard that all told. Like, all in all. Only 2 managed to escape with their lives, making it to the safety of the passage and disappearing around the corner. And that's chapter 2. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff going on here. Hello, welcome in. You actually reached the end of my reading. I read the prologue. I read 3 chapters today. I read the prologue, chapter 1, and chapter 2. And if you want to hear more, I'm debating whether or not I want to do this on stream on YouTube or on Annie Live, because I kind of want to lay down the next time I read it. It's so relaxing. Maybe I can do like 1 chapter every once in a while. I feel like with Annie Live, I'll probably just do 1 chapter at a time, like multiple days throughout the week or something. I don't know. IDK. But what did you all think? I'm gonna make my schedule for the week while we wrap up. Sounds good to you? Nice! Wait, I'm gonna change the music now that we're done reading. Yay! It's the combination of reading a book, being cozy, and the music, I think, that makes me eepy. So now we have different music. Maybe this will wake me up. Wow, that was fun. What did you all think? Gosh, any moments that stuck out to you? Oh, this next week's gonna be fun. I think I told you all already, but I have a super huge important project that I'm really excited to be working on over the next couple of months. But it's a lot. It is grind time, prime time, Archangels. That's all I can say. It is grind time, prime time. So I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna be very strict about sticking to the number of streams that I do a week. Because before I'll be like, we can have a little extra fun this week and I'll add an extra one. But I'm gonna really lock in. I'm gonna lock in the next couple of months, you guys. You have the best storytelling voice. Thank you. I kind of relaxed a little bit because I was getting a little eepy. But I'm glad you think so. Okay, oh my gosh, I'm just looking at my schedule for next week and it's crazy. And not just stream, but like in general. But I'm gonna do 3 streams next week. Gosh, okay. So, oh my gosh, next week is Xenoblade Tuesday. Woohoo! Okay, and then Echoes of Wisdom. And then I'm doing a Prima Project Mario Party Jamboree. Ooh, chicken feta with rice. Mario Party Jamboree logo. You always love the introduction to Grissom. Yeah! I really like how they, like... I like, Drew... Is it Drew Karpyshyn? I really like the way that they write. You're late from what I listened to was good. Yay! I'm happy to hear that. But yeah, if you want to hear more, I'd be more than happy to do more. Oh my gosh, I think while I'm working on this, whatchamacallit, while I'm working on this, on my schedule for next week, one of my other, whatchamacallit, Donothon rewards got finished. It looks really cute! It's my Halloween costume for this year. The picture of me as Nia from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm excited. It looks so cute, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. Okay, let's see here. Xenoblade Chronicles. Okay, let's see. And so because I'll be working on this project, I probably won't start my next voice acting series until next month. Just so I can let myself relax with all of the work I have to do for this new project. But yeah, look forward to that. Maybe I'll do one short horror thing. We'll see. It's gonna get crazy busy the next few weeks. Between Idol's side job and, you know, streaming and all the other projects I have, on top of this crazy exciting project I'm working on. But yeah, my schedule next week looks so empty compared to previous, but this is a normal amount. This is a very normal amount. I don't want to stress myself out over booking myself. You know what I mean? It's all about self-care. You know what I mean? Okay, there we go. 10:15, 10:16, and then 18. Oh my gosh, I have a team building on Monday for Idol Side Job, and I'm kind of nervous because it's like a long team building, and like I love talking to people. I'm an FP. I love chatting and hanging out with people, but like I can only be normal for so long. You know what I mean? Because like none of my coworkers like know anything about video games or like anime, and there's only so much I can there's only so much time I can go not talking about, you know, my interests and such. Your team did team building this past Thursday. Don't wear out your social battery too. Aww, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm just worried that my social battery will run out. And that says a lot coming from me, because I love being around other people. So we'll see. But it's supposed to be very relaxing, so I'm excited. Little girl's day out, right? We're gonna get food, and then we're gonna relax somewhere, and I don't know, because I'm like, okay, what do I bring? Like, do I bring relaxing? Like, do I bring a book? Can I bring my Nintendo Switch? Or like, am I gonna be like, how are we gonna do this? Is this like a parallel play kind of thing where like you can read your book and I can read mine? Or like, are we gonna be doing activities together? I don't know. But yeah, I actually saw this thing where it's like ENFPs around other extroverts, and it's like ENFPs around other extroverts are like, you know, a little bit more introverted, but ENFPs around other introverts, totally different story. And I feel like that makes sense for me, Ellie. A very extroverted, an extrovert with introvert tendencies. Do what I do, make the video game sound like it's a movie you saw on TV. Like, oh my gosh, there's this movie called Xenoblade. Oh, I think they would. I think they would fire me. Just kidding. No, they wouldn't. But I think they'd be like, okay, Rita, back it up. Oh my gosh. But yeah, Next week we'll be continuing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We're doing some Echoes of Wisdom. And then Super Mario Party Jamboree. Wait, I should probably put into the picture. I guess I could put. Let me put with all the people that I'm gonna play with. Let me find the full list of people. Oh wow. Okay. Let's see. Upload this. Me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 8 members of Prima. Let's see. Elements. Oh, I mean, if they ask me about my video game, I'll probably tell. Because I'm probably gonna bring like a book and bring my Switch. Because again, I don't know what the vibes are. I don't know what kind of vibe we're going for, so I'm just gonna bring stuff, and hope for the best. Hopefully I know the vibe. Oh my gosh, my Terai Love in Her Arms like streamer ambassador kit came in, and it was really nice. I don't know, the random thought I thought I'd mention, because they gave me like a tote bag. I didn't realize. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was gonna get a little gift. Yeah. So that was really nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm making my schedule. I'm adding the picture of everyone. I don't think I have everyone's updated picture, like in terms of like new models and stuff. Okay, oh my gosh. This is such a tough little thing. I have to space them all out so it looks nice. Group. Okay, and then who is there? Well, you're gonna see who all is gonna be in the collab pretty soon. There we go. 1 person. It's a lot of people. It's a very packed. But that's the thing about Mario Party Jamboree is they have a 20-person thing. And so I was like, however many people can make it from Prima, you're welcome. But of course, times, schedules and things like that don't align. So we got the most people that we could. Let's see. Maybe about music. I also have a very different taste in music than they do. So I don't know how that's gonna work. Let's see here. Make sure I have everyone. I will tell you this. Ko said she was gonna. Ko signed up to be part of the Mario Party Jamboree. So hopefully she can still make it. Really excited. I'm happy. I know. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay. Next PNG is. I need to like sort my folder, honestly. Yeah, Ko! Yes! Ko Tsubame. Yes. Correct. Okay, let's see. At least when I checked the Wendemy, I saw Ko. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Ko love! Broski love! Oh my gosh. Okay, next person I need to get. Again, I don't have everyone's new pictures, so might see some old thingamabobs. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Just what I needed. Okay, paste. Put this here. Crop. And then I can take my nap, and then I can do my project work. Okay, next person. Okay, bitches. It will be nice to see Ko again. I'm so excited. Why can't I find a new picture of this individual? There we go. Not the angry face. Yeah, I'll use the angry face. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna look that closely. They'd be like, why are you angry? Why are you the only angry one in Rita's schedule? That's okay, don't worry about it. You can't really tell who it is when I zoom in that close. Let me zoom out. Okay. And then next person. Wait. Oh, I miscounted. Okay. Silly me. Silly goofy me. Silly Baka life. Okay. Yay. Nap for me. I'm excited. I'm telling you, I've been working really hard. getting this project. It's crazy. And I was already crazy busy on top of everything else. But I'm making it work. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work hard and play hard. I think once the project happens, I'm gonna take a long vacation. Not a long, maybe like a week or two, because it's gonna be well, maybe not 2 weeks, because I feel like after the project, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a week, because I don't want to be like away from social media after this for too long after this drops. Oh no, crazy! What could it be? You deserve 2 weeks. Oh well, we'll see. We shall see. Don't make us too excited. Oh my gosh, it'll be well deserved for this project. You think so? Oh my gosh. I was brainstorming with let's say my project partner. I was brainstorming with my project partner, and I was like, we have some crazy ideas, that's for sure. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it. Okay, I finished my schedule, so now it's time for me to stop yapping and take a nap. Because that book made me eepy. Okay, let me make sure I have this all set up and ready to go. Oh, Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm gonna hold you to that. Overwork is unhealthy. Overwork is absolutely unhealthy. You're so correct. But yeah, after this drops, I'll take a break for like a week. And then we can really talk about it when I'll probably release some other stuff while I'm out on vacay. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but something to quench ya. It'll quench ya. Oh my gosh. Look forward. So it's not an event. I will say that. That's the only other hint you're getting. It's a project. Well, a lot of other things are going to be happening in the next couple of months. You know, prior to this big project, events and such. But it's. Oh, I'm nervous. I was actually telling my friend the other day, because I told my sisters, I told my friends, and they were like, "That's crazy," and I told them about it, and I was like, I have really bad imposter syndrome about it. Truth be told, like really badly. I have a lot of really bad imposter syndrome about it, but it's okay. I'll journal about it, and I'll overcome it. I'll overcome it. It doesn't feel great though. I will have to say, but I'll power through it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the last stream for this week, so I will see you all next week for more fun. But as always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, at your service. Bye! Naki. Naki's playing Baldur's Gate. So let's go and raid her. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get it set up. Yay, Naki! Yay! Happy. Oh my gosh, my chat loaded super quickly. Oh my gosh. Yay, Naki! Happy. So happy. Okay. Save. Okay. Alright, bye!